Welcome, geeks and nerds, girls and boys, to a brand new episode of Geek to Me Radio. Tonight, we have Chef Liz and Under Chef Ben in studio to talk about their upcoming events at Work and Leisure for Tenacious Eats. After that, we have a part of my interview with Michael Ironside. I'll tell you why just a part later on. Plus, a chance for you to win a pair of tickets to go see Ballerina. All that and more. Stand by.
We're talking TV, comics and movies, and video games. And if you don't know Star Trek from Star Wars, we'll try to explain. There are 12 doctors for Hogwarts houses, one ring rules them all. To be the greatest Pokemon master, you must catch them all. You must catch them all. Try to catch them all. Gotta catch them all. Gotta catch them all.
And for those of you driving around the greater St. Louis area tonight, listening to us on the Big 550 KTRS, hello to all of you. If you are streaming us on YouTube and Facebook, hello, as Mrs. Doubtfire would say. If you're hearing us after the fact in the podcast form or whatever platform you receive your podcast, we appreciate you finding us there and subscribing. Hopefully you've subscribed by now. If you are watching this on YouTube, please make sure to click the subscribe button there and hit the bell notification. That way you get a little ding anytime we go live with a show with video like we are tonight, because Joey V is with me and we always do video and Joey V's here. A full show tonight. We're going to dive right in. My first guest has been on with me many times. This time, she's bringing her son. Chef Liz and Ben are in with us to talk about some of the events they've got going on at Work and Leisure for Tenacious Eats. Thank you both for coming in.
Thanks for having us, James.
Thanks for having us, James.
Of course. So we'll just do it in chronological order. So we'll start with this upcoming weekend. Congratulations on your 13th anniversary of Tenacious Eats. That's amazing.
We have a pubescent larva in our hands.
I know.
Yeah, we have a 13-year-old.
But enough about my friend Ben. We'll,
I was going to say, why are you guys insulting me about that?
The 13-year-old. 27.
Yeah. So she's been doing this for half of your life.
Yeah.
That's hard to know. Wow.
Yeah, it's like having a sibling almost at this point.
Tenacious Eats is your sibling?
An abusive sibling, I think, right?
Which
Ben?
one's your favorite child, Ben or Tenacious Eats?
Benjamin.
Okay, good. All right.
Yeah.
Just want to make sure we got that. See, don't you feel better already? She picked you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Friday the 13th, as far as I know, since I've been working with you anyway, you've never done a horror movie to pair with a menu. This is the first time that I've worked with you anyway. You may have done before. I don't want to say BJ before James because I want to say BJ on the air, but before me.
Would you consider, I don't think, Silence of the Lambs is more of a thriller.
Yeah, I would say so, correct.
It's a psychological thriller. It's not a horror film.
Right, like Cape Fear is not a horror movie. It's a psychological, yeah.
American Werewolf in London?
That was before me.
Oh, that was in the very beginning.
A horror movie?
I think it kind of falls in that genre. Body horror, if nothing else, the way he transforms and the...
Yeah, we did in the very beginning. We did an American Werewolf in London, and it was like my parents and 4 other people. No one came.
You said how these events have grown, and how you originally were doing films that just you wanted to see, and you kind of had to switch it up a little bit. But I think that's how everything starts out. Things evolve and like that.
Yeah, I had it in my head. I'm like, okay, I only want to do these movies because they're cool and it's all about food, or they're really bizarre, and and I thought that other weirdos like myself would appreciate it. And there's so many, not weirdos. Well, maybe we are.
I think I'm a weirdo.
I would want to come to one of our shows.
Well, they're in good company. I mean, it's a event by weirdos for weirdos.
Yeah. We did Silence of the Lambs. We did an American Werewolf in London way back in the day. And again, it was just like my parents and a handful of other people. But yeah, this is the first horror film I think we've ever attempted. And writing the menu, I was like laughing the whole time. So I apologize to anyone who's a diehard fan of the original Friday the 13th. It's a cult classic for a reason.
Yeah,
it really
it
is.
launched the entire franchise. What are we on now? 12 or 13 movies, if you count Freddy versus Jason, depending on which one you count that as part of the Friday the 13th franchise or part of the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise.
Was there only one of those, the Freddy versus Jason?
Yes, they were supposed to do a Freddy versus Jason versus Ash, and they couldn't get Bruce Campbell's scheduled lineup, so it ended up becoming a comic book.
He's doing too much.
He is.
Yeah.
But I would, oh my gosh, to see that movie, can you imagine? Because that's one of those ones, it's one of the few I saw in theaters, because I was thinking about when you're doing the Friday the 13th events, I've only seen either part 2 or part 3. I saw the one where he went to New York, Jason Takes Manhattan, and I saw X, which is him in space.
Yeah.
Those are the only 3 I've seen, though, other than I saw in theaters, because I'm like, Freddy versus Jason, this is made for 80s kid me. I want to see this showdown, and I remember seeing it in theaters.
I just, it had been so long since I saw it. It was early 80s when I saw Friday the 13th. Probably like 82, 83, I'm guessing, when I first saw it. And I forgot who actually was doing all the murdering. I don't want to spoil anything.
Bates.
Norman Bates. It was totally Norman Bates.
That would be a crazy
It would be.
crossover.
You said crossover and he wears his mom's clothes. Sorry. Did you get that, Ben? Did you miss that?
That was a
Yeah,
stretch.
I got it. I'm there.
A little bit of a stretch.
Sorry. I'm really working hard.
Just like Norman Bates' mom's clothes on himself there. It was a bit of a stretch.
You could wear my chef coat if you want. It would be pretty cool.
It'd be a crop top.
We could do
And
Psycho.
we're out of time. We'll,
But yeah, I mean, back to like showing this film, we want to have fun, and I think a majority of the food is not going to look gross. It's not going to be gross. The menu is actually going to be really delicious. We're doing, the first course is called I'm an American Original, and we're serving a New Jersey cheesesteak. I had to do a lot of research. I didn't realize this. My husband, Chef Steve, was telling me about New Jersey cheesesteaks. They're shaved ribeye, not the crummy steakum stuff and cheese whiz. No. They take it seriously, and there's like a red sauce and really good cheese, no stuff out of a can. So I'm excited. We're going to serve that for first course. Second course, I guess this is a spoiler again. There's a very famous person who made his debut in the movie, Kevin Bacon. And so the second course is called You're All Doomed. The crazy guy that wanders around. Have you seen it in a while?
I haven't. I've never seen the first one.
What?
I'm excited because this is the first event of yours that I've attended that I've not seen the movie for. And I've been going back and forth. Do I want to watch it beforehand, or I kind of want to be surprised? So I think I'm going to choose the latter of the options.
It had been so long, like watching it as a kid and watching it now as an adult. I think that's why I was giggling through it. I'm like, this whole group of teenagers were so obnoxious that I'm like, I hope they all die. But we're going to have so much fun. And for the dessert, it's the June 13th, which is Friday the 13th, is also Jason's birthday. And Tenacious eats. So our final course is going to be, well, Chef Steve's going to have to make this, our version of a birthday cake.
Okay.
For
Our
Friday the
version.
Our version.
So it'll be something special.
Yeah, we don't do anything normally.
So this is going to be a Dairy Queen ice cream cake. That's what you're saying. No.
Although Steve would probably say, yeah,
He just gave the thumbs up. So
he gave the
That
thumbs
is
up.
a good idea.
That's a good idea.
That's a good idea.
No, we're not.
shaped like a hockey mask.
My God. But yeah, I'm really excited to do this. It's going to be quite fun. We have so many surprises up our sleeves that I like this, James. We do our shows. We don't want to tell everybody everything that's going to happen.
Correct.
I'll try and outline the menu, but then we've got all kinds of fun stuff planned.
Yeah. And I've got some, as the MC, I've got some games in mind that I think will be pretty fun. And you've got a lot of people. I know I talked to some people who met you for the first time when you were doing my Comic-Con, who now are like, oh my gosh, how have I never been in one of these? So that's a whole new batch of people who are coming to this. And I know some people have said this is going to be their first experience with Tenacious Eat. So I'm so excited.
And it's going to be so crazy. So, I mean, we're part of the Work and Leisure summer camp, adult summer camp pop-up. And to do this film during it, I'm so excited because Work and Leisure, they've already put up all the decor for summer camp, and they go all out.
Yeah, they do.
So for us to be able to show this film in that setting is going to be like mind blown. There are trees all over the inside of Work and Leisure.
Ooh.
There's a raft that you can paddle. I mean, it's so awesome. I mean, it looks like you've gone to summer camp. So I'm excited about that immersive experience because Work and Leisure, they're doing their pop-up event for 3 weeks this month. It's almost the entire month. Every night is different. So we're so excited to do 2 nights of the takeover. And then we'll be doing all the food for the rest of the nights.
Okay.
We have a really fun menu that we're going to be cranking out every night that'll be available for purchase, along with all these cool camp custom cocktails that Raven has whipped up. So it's going to be really fun. I'm excited.
Yeah, for those of you listening, if you've never been down to Work and Leisure on Locust, check it out. It's Work and Leisure STL. You can find them on Instagram and Twitter. It's a very cool event space, and Jordan and Raven, who run the place, are fantastic people, and the cocktails, like you mentioned, are really good. So after Friday the 13th, the fun doesn't stop because we stick with that summer camp theme. You're doing Troop Beverly Hills the following Friday with Shelley Long.
Troop Beverly Hills. Oh, my goodness. Yeah, we have brought in hairstylists. Hi, Steffi. Hi, Kimmy. They're coming in. They're going to be doing extensions, and I call it the Anora look, like the glitter kind of things, and things that are way outside of my wheelhouse, obviously. And we even have someone coming in to do Botox.
Ooh.
Obviously, I don't use Botox. You can tell by the chef realness. But that'll be available. We'll have Jade from Sincerely the Craft doing tarot card readings. It's going to be just crazy. We have a really fun menu for that. That was not an easy menu to write either. And Chef Steve was like, wait, what? There are cookies involved? I'm like, yeah, you're going to be doing 3 different types of cookies for the dessert.
3? Ooh.
3. We're going pretty hardcore dessert, kind of very kind of girl-oriented kind of food. Like their first troop meeting in the beginning, the first course is like, what is it? Oh, we're doing like cucumber sandwiches with dill and butter and the crust cut off.
Ooh, fancy.
And like little crab salads and radicchio. So just like a tea party on the patio kind of thing. And then we're going to a whole fondue course.
Wow.
Yeah. And then after that, it's going to be mini croissants with cappuccino, pot de creme, and then the cookies. And Steve's like, well, he wasn't there when I was writing the menu, so that's what he gets.
I know.
Yep.
That's always the rule.
Yep. So that's going to be, and we have so many other things planned for that are a complete surprise. So it's actually, one is terror camping, like running through the woods terrified, and the second week is glamping.
Glamping, all fancy.
Yeah.
So I assume that tickets are still available for both events right now.
Tickets are getting very low for Friday the 13th, and we still have a few seats left for Troop Beverly Hills. So I would definitely get online at workandleisurestl.com, or you could go to brownpapertickets.com and get tickets for both nights or for any of the nights with Work and Leisure.
And again, you can check those out. We'll have, if you're listening to this after the fact, in the podcast form, it's probably too late to get the tickets for Friday the 13th event, but go down and click on the links that'll be in the show notes. If you're hearing us after the fact in the podcast form, there'll be links so you can still catch them on Troop Beverly Hills and Ben's event, which let's take a quick break and we'll come back and we'll talk about Tales from the Trail. When we come back, you're listening to Geek to Me Radio on the Big 550 KTRS. Please stand by.
Separately to play on the Intellivision video game system. Why are you talking like that? They always do. Then they say your parents have to hook it up to the TV. After that, you can start to pick up cold. Trouble is, the police are coming, so you have to keep both eyes on the game. Oh, brother.
Do they say that too?
Buddy.
Intellivision master component from Mattel Electronics. Lock and Chase video game cartridge sold separately.
Now what do I do?
Okay, this is Advanced Dungeons and Dragons video game cartridge.
You have to buy it separately to play on the Intellivision video game system.
Mom and Dad have to hook it up to the TV. What next? We're trying to find a crown, but it's real easy to get lost. So don't be surprised if the dragon finds you first. Holy cats, you just killed the dragon.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean it.
Advanced Dungeons & Dragons video game cartridge and Intellivision master component from Mattel Electronics, each sold separately.
Poor little pound puppies. They had no one to love them.
Pound puppy, you were sad and lonely. Brought you home, now you're my one and only. Pound puppy, you're my one and only puppy love.
Pound puppies are so cuddly soft, they feel real. Each sold separately. You can name them.
Fetch, Coco.
And for a few dollars more.
Hey, this is Yuri Lowenthal, but you may know me recently as Peter Parker / Spider-Man. And you're listening to Geek to Me Radio.
Yes, you are. Geek to Me Radio heard here every Sunday on the Big 550 KTRS. I'm your host, James Enstall. We'll make sure we tell you about our premier sponsor, the Greater St. Charles Convention and Visitors Bureau. You can go to the website to find out more. It's discoverstcharles.com. discoverstcharles.com. It's been up and down weather, but I promise spring's right around the corner. Really, it should be nice any week now. Hopefully we'll get a good solid 4-day period and with no rain. And when you get that time, go out and bike ride the Katy Trail, go out and throw the Frisbee around in Frontier Park, just walk along the cobblestones. Every time we go out there to take Grimlock for a walk, because he has places that he likes to pee on certain rocks and trees and everything out there, so it's comfortable for him. And there's always so many people out there. I was going to say doing the same thing, but they're not peeing on rocks and trees. No, they're enjoying the outdoor. They're enjoying this gorgeous atmosphere. We just had Two Rivers Comic Con down there, and I was very happy that I chose Historic St. Charles for that location. And the thing that made me most happy was Dan Reba, who we brought in. He's worked on so many different animated series as a storyboard artist and director. He's been on this show several times, and we were having dinner. He said, James, you undersold this place. It's amazing. And to hear someone like that talk about how great they found the city of St. Charles to be made me so happy, because if you haven't been across the bridge lately, maybe you're in Alton, maybe you're in Sappington, maybe you're in Fenton, haven't been to St. Charles, go check it out, because there's always something new going on. We had dinner at the main house, which used to be the mother-in-law house, refurbished under new ownership. Fantastic food, great cocktails. You want some barbecue, you can pop over to Salt and Smoke. You just want to hang out, get something sweet, go to Sugar and Slice, try their macarons, or on weekends they've got cinnamon rolls that are the size of my head. Maybe not that big, but they're large cinnamon rolls. It's all these shops and businesses. These are all small businesses, independently owned. So you're not putting money in the hands of a corporation. You're supporting these small businesses. In this economy, it's a really nice thing to do. The city of St. Charles, their Greater St. Charles Convention and Visitors Bureau have always been a huge help to me. They were the first people to come on to sponsor the show, and they do all those amazing festivals. So whether or not you want to go down for Christmas traditions, Halloween, go check out Legends and Lanterns, as I have trouble swallowing. So much going on down there all the time, whether it's a festival, whether it's music. They just had their 636 days not that long ago. First Fridays at the Foundry. Start your trip at the website. I know I just threw a lot of information at you. Go to the website. Everything is so simplified. It's discoverstcharles.com, which you will discover a lot of fun things going on all the time. Great restaurants, great shops, great people, great fun. Discoverstcharles.com, as we always say, it's an historically good time. We're chatting with Chef Liz and Ben about the upcoming events at Work and Leisure under the Tenacious Eats banner. Chef Liz says I can give away 2 tickets to Friday the 13th.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah. If they dare.
If you dare. So if you're not the squeamish type, and hopefully my listeners aren't, we will go ahead and give away. Should we do a trivia thing?
Oh, I've got a good trivia question.
Oh, okay. I'd rather have Chef Liz come up with it than me have to go through my brain. Go ahead.
What game did they play in the bunkhouse that they were playing strip to? What board game?
In the first movie.
In the first movie.
What board game were they playing strip something in the... Okay. So if you know the answer to that, you can either text us on the KTRS text lines at 84126. You have to be local. We're not going to fly you in and put you up if you're listening from out of town. So if you're local, you can send us a text on the KTRS text lines at 84126. Just include your name and your answer to that question. And once again, the question was,
what board game were they playing strip to in the bunkhouse.
In the bunkhouse in the first Friday the 13th movie. If you know that, send it to us 84126. Or you know what? I'll try to watch both of them. I see all these texts popping up here. If you can put it in the chat if you're local as well. So any of my chat friends who want to add that in there, I'm trying to go through these very quickly. Hello, David DeRose listening. Hello, BK on the air listening down in Cartersville, Georgia. We've got My Flock. Hello to you. And Bill Blanky says, hi, Liz. So yes, if you, and David says, darn it, I know this and I can't go, so he's not going to guess. But if any of the rest of you know the answer, feel free to text us or call. I will try to keep an eye on the text lines, both the KTRS text lines 84126 and our chats on Geek to Me Radio on the chat. The other event coming up, which is Ben's debut event. I know you've worked these Tenacious Eats things before. You're out there slinging the food and throwing elbows at the crowd. But this is your event, dude. This is pretty impressive. Talk a little bit about Tales from the Trail.
Yeah, so it's just going to be me talking about my anecdotes and adventures on the Appalachian Trail in 2023.
And this is, how long did that take you? Because I know we've talked about this, but the listeners don't know. How long did that whole journey take you, and what made you want to do it?
It took 5 months, 21 days, 6 hours, and 42 minutes. Who's counting?
No one was keeping track, right?
No one was keeping track. And I don't know. I like the challenge of it. Obviously, my mom and my grandfather were big outdoors people. So, it just kind of fit as a challenge. And AT is beautiful trek along the East Coast.
Is there a specific trail that you're supposed to follow, like Route 66, or is this just there's different trails and I'm going to make my own way? How did this? So
the Appalachian Trail is actually set by a white blaze going from Georgia to Maine. 14 states.
My gosh.
When I did it, it's always in fluctuation. But
no, there's still 14 states. We haven't changed the union yet.
Oh, okay. Well, maybe we should think about that. But it is, or when I did it, it was 2,198.2 miles.
Wow.
So
man.
Yeah, a lot of walking.
And what was the desire? Did you like your car break down in Maine? You're like, oh, I'll walk home.
Yeah.
What was the impetus?
Again, and I'm sorry if I'm being repetitive, it was just the challenge of it. You know, people saying, it's really hard to do. And it's like this, all right, I should be honest. It's very close to Lord of the Rings. You know, that's
okay.
It's the Fellowship of the Rings the entire time. I mean, how could I not want to do that?
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
You're too tall to be a hobbit, just so you know.
But your hair is growing out like Legolas, so you could have your bow and arrow and...
I was hoping for Aragorn.
Oh, okay. Well, you know, to each their own. But so this whole event is just going to be about, you're going to have a slideshow presentation, kind of showing different pictures and just having the walkthrough so that people can experience vicariously through you.
That's the idea. And my number one hope with even talking about it on here or on the actual day of the event is like maybe somebody will try it, or maybe they'll go for a first hike that they've never thought about doing before. So.
I know you were on with McGraw earlier. Did you entice him? It's like, you know what? I'm going to do this.
He definitely seemed more gusto about it, right?
Yeah. I think what's really awesome when Ben talks about the Appalachian Trail is he's very honest about the ups and downs and everything.
Literal and otherwise, yeah.
The what?
Literal and otherwise.
Literal and otherwise. But like everything you went through, where you were mentally and different things, I think that makes it more approachable than someone just saying, look at me, I'm a mountain god. I did this. When you say, hey, this happened to me. I had Lyme's disease, COVID twice. Phone stolen by a crackhead.
That was interesting. Yeah.
Let's see, chased by a bear and her cubs.
That was just the one.
Just the one bear.
Just the one bear. Luckily, the crackhead threw him out the sand. Like, here, and that guy with the bear, you're able to outrun the crackhead. You're fine.
I just have to say this. Going to the topic of realism, I am first and foremost a giant geek. I'm a gamer. I love staying inside. I love watching movies. But, that didn't dissuade me from doing the trail. So if anybody has the slightest inclination of doing something like that, I would say do it.
And you're charging how much to guide these people on the? Are you?
$60 an hour.
That's not bad. Okay. I mean, you got 5 months. That's going to rack up pretty quick. I'm just going to say.
Yeah, half in 2 installments. I get half up front and then half if you get.
Okay, if they survive.
Yeah.
All right, now what if I want optional crackheads? Could I have to pay more for that if I want to bring your own? How does that work?
Well, I stock my own bears and crackheads
Oh, good,
in the
okay.
same facility. So
Excellent. If you dress them up like Yogi, I think you can charge a little bit more.
Well, I mean, that was the other thing too, is like being on my end, and I'm just like shipping him boxes and trying to figure out where he was. And he was supposed to arrive in a town at a certain time, or his phone stopped pinging at a certain time, and it was terrifying on my end, going, I don't know. I mean, I trust his outdoor skills, his resourcefulness. I know he's wicked smart, but it was still scary. Like, where are you? Like 1 minute he's pinging on a mountaintop, and then poof. It was scary.
I'm hanging out with cryptids. I'm just hanging out, having fun.
Just hanging out. But I think like all of the interpersonal stories you have about all the cool folks that, what did you call it on the trail? Your
Tramily.
Your tramily.
Trail family is the colloquial term, I guess.
So is everyone kind of, because again, I've never done this. Look at me. Do I look like I'm outside much? Have you ever, were there times when you were traveling with a group and other times when you're just by yourself, depending on where other people were in their journey? How does that work?
Initially, I started out by myself. I know some people either have like a significant other or a good friend that they want to do the trail with. I started out by myself, and I even tried to start at the end of the bubble, which is like the standard deviation of the most amount of people on the Appalachian Trail, because a lot of people do attempt it. Couple thousand, I think is the metric.
Couple thousand a year, try it? Okay.
Yeah. And I think the attrition rate is 75%.
Wow. Yeah, I can see why that long of a journey. Whew.
But yeah, I actually ended up summiting with like 10 people in Mount Katahdin. So you definitely make some friends along the way. That's for sure.
And you're usually with these people, is it roughly on average you're with the same group of people for a week, a month? The people, as they kind of like, I can't go anymore, and they pop off in West Virginia and go to a Denny's or something?
Yeah. I mean, some of them live at the Denny's. No. Some of them just like, you get some folks that actually live along the East Coast, so they might have a house or some friends that they could stop and like, I need some reprieve for a couple weeks. And some folks who are a little farther away from home, they'll take a 0 day into town. 0 day is just like no miles, I'm not doing anything, I'm just going to rest up, get some recovery. So it depends on somebody's pace. I mean, as much as you want to stay with your friends, everybody hikes their own hike.
Yeah.
Hike your own hike is a big term that's thrown out a lot. So some people do 8 miles a day consistently for the entire time they're on the trail. Some people like me who do like longer stints of miles for like 5 days and then take some nice time off. So it kind of evens out, and you'll see the same people every now and then.
And so if you're listening, this will be, the event is on the 26th. So you've got tickets on sale for Friday the 13th on the 13th, for Troop Beverly Hills on the 20th, and then Tales from the Trail on the 26th. Tickets for all three events are available. And I'm sorry, I didn't check. Did anyone win the... we've got Chance, no. Shannon, no. No winners yet. Okay. Going to keep checking throughout the night. So even if, as I get into my Michael Ironside interview, if you know the answer, and we'll give the question again, maybe someone just tuned in, the question to win 2 tickets to Chef Liz's Tenacious Eats Friday the 13th event is...
What classic board game were the campers playing in the bunkhouse, but they were doing a strip version of this?
In the original film. So if you know that answer, you can text it to us in the chat or on the KTRS text lines again at 84126. I will try my best to watch them. I know I'm not very good at that all the time, but I will keep an eye on that. Tickets available for all 3 events still, and you can get them all brownpapertickets.com or at workandleisurestl.com, correct?
Correct. And also the night of Ben's Tales from the Trail, he's going to be doing a shakedown. So if anybody wants to like try this out, we're going to have a lot of really cool hiking gear, food, supplies, and we're going to set a timer and have whoever wants to try this pack a bag, and then Ben is going to do a, what's it called?
The term is shakedown. Just do an approximation of your gear, get rid of all the non-essentials, because you're going to be carrying it on your back. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, you want it to be light and efficient.
Right, of course.
And then we'll pick a winner, and then that person gets to take their bag of gear home.
Nice. Very cool. So
Yeah.
we're doing some cool stuff also. So that'll be a cool event. Again, the 13th, the 20th, and the 26th. Tickets available. Check it out. Chef Liz, Ben, thank you for coming in. I appreciate it. Always
Thanks
good
for
to see
having
you.
us. Yeah, thanks, James.
Of course. We're going to take another quick commercial break, and then we'll come back. We will have my interview with Michael Ironside, talking about his upcoming appearance Friday the 13th in Metropolis, Illinois. You're listening to Geek to Me Radio. Please stand by.
Close the hood and pretend to take a ride. What can you do with the Public Works Center? You can build a crane and watch it drop some bricks into a bin. Or lift the door, roll out the truck, and let the bricks fall in.
The action's up to you.
The Legoland Public Works Center from the Legoland Town Collection. Legoland gas station sold separately from Lego Systems.
Pound Puppy, you're my one and only puppy love.
You can show your Pound Puppy how much you love him with snuggly Pound Puppy outfits.
Into your hooded on t-shirt. We're going biking. Snap your pop's jazzy jacket.
Pound Puppies and outfits, each sold separately.
Whoa! Now let's walk to the park. Uh-oh, thunder. Put on your dry doggy rain gear and you'll stay dry as a bone.
Hooded Hound t-shirt, Dry Doggy Rain Gear, Pup's Jazzy Jacket, and Pound Puppies all sold separately. From town.
Black Steel Go-Go Forward!
Hunter the Conqueror is about to attack Max Steel the leader. Record
321-321.
This is Michael Rosenbaum. You might know me as Lex Luthor or Martin X from Guardians of the Galaxy, and you're listening to Geek to Me Radio. Why am I talking like this?
Bugs, comics, and games. We've got a couple of fantastic, no pun intended, comic book movies coming up this summer. We've got Superman and the Fantastic Four at the box office. If you are behind on your reading, maybe you're not sure what the Fantastic Four have been up to lately, what Superman's new powers set might be, go talk to Larry at Bugs, Comics, and Games on Bryan Road in O'Fallon, Missouri. Easily accessible from either Highway 70 or from Highway 364. Go out and say, hey, I don't know what the new stuff is. I'm not sure. I haven't read the Spider-Man just relaunched. They're in issue number 4. What's going on there? Let Larry be your personal comic concierge. He knows everything about comic books because he's been doing it since the 60s. He's got every issue of Spider-Man, not in his store, but he knows about them and he's got them. In his store, though, he has got a lot of cool comics, everything ranging from dollar books, if you're just kind of looking for some readers to get yourself back in or fill those holes in your collection. He's got $2 boxes, $3, $5, and then he's got the regular price stuff. And then in the display case, that's where he keeps like the first Silver Surfer, the first appearance of Punisher, those kind of books there. Harley Quinn #1 from the 90s. The actual good series when it was really good, right when it came out. But if you're looking for something new, maybe you're looking for a jumping on point. Maybe you're looking for a jumping off point. Maybe I've got to sell my collection. I've got too many books. I don't read them anymore. Ask Larry. He can help you. He'll give you a very fair price for your collection. And then I've got new back issues to look at when I come in the shop. Bugs, Comics, and Games on Facebook and on Instagram. Follow him there. Give his page a like. He'll appreciate that. And check out the stuff he puts up on there online for sale. Bugs, Comics, and Games. Very proud to have them as the official comic book sponsor here on Geek to Me Radio. My next guest, Michael Ironside, legendary actor. I had a chance to talk to him because he's going to be at Superman Celebration in Metropolis, Illinois, starting June 13th. He's only there that Friday, the 13th. And I thought I'd get maybe 20 minutes with him. We talked for an hour and 45 minutes. This guy has the best stories. He's a legend in the business. And I was like, oh my gosh, I've got to compact this down. I'm going to air the longer interview next week. So don't worry, you're not missing out on anything. I'm going to air it all, but I wanted to fit this into the hour because I really wanted to promote his appearance. And I wanted you all to hear what Michael Ironside had to say. Joining me now, a man I've been wanting to talk to for so long, a prolific actor, and as far as I'm aware, the only actor to face off against Mr. Miyagi, a Terminator, Superman, and Sean Connery. Michael Ironside, thanks for your time today.
Well, it's good to be here, James.
It's so exciting. You're going to be at Superman Celebration in Metropolis, Illinois, for their 47th annual. You'll be there just Friday the 13th. They've got a bunch of other stuff going on for the rest of the weekend. So for those of you listening, spend the whole weekend there because it's a lot of cool stuff happening. You'll get to meet Dean Cain on Saturday, etc. But is this your first time attending Superman Celebration?
Absolutely. during COVID and stuff like this, everything kind of slowed down a bit. And I did a film called Starship Troopers, and there was an ask by one of these promoters and stuff to say, look, there's some signing event that wants all the people from Starship Troopers to show up because it's having a resurgence and stuff. It's kind of like lopsided. If you're not there, would you go? And I had a good time. I went with Casper Van Diem and Dina Mayer and a bunch of us, and went as a group, and I did 2 or 3 of those. And what was very satisfying is that when you're doing film and television, it's not like live theater. You don't really get to meet the audience. And I started off as a writer in theater and stuff like that, and did a little bit of that. But, you got the crew when you're on, and, or a director or somebody, and you get that kind of closed-in feedback. And then 6 months later, somebody says, oh, I liked you in so-and-so or something. You don't really have a dialogue. And it was so wonderful to actually meet people. They come up and they want you to sign a picture, and, they charge whatever, I don't know. They pay me for it and everything. I don't really give too much about that. But it was great. I actually got chastised by the promoter saying, can you move your people along? I told them to bugger off. I said, these people work really hard for their money. They come up here, I'm from a working class family, and I really get that. I get when people come up there and, and they want to spend a little time with somebody and talk to them. So they're going to pay like $40 or $50 or something like that. Give them their bloody money's worth. Let them ask questions. Let them talk. So I liked it. So I've done a few of these. And Aaron called up and said something about Superman. That I've got to go to Nashville to see my daughter and help out with some stuff on that Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. I'm already booked into that. And she's also a filmmaker. But she's doing some documentary work stuff. She wants me to do some narration stuff. So I thought, well, I like driving. So I'll loop through Illinois to go down to Nashville. I think it's 2.5 hours north of Nashville.
Yeah, it's not too far, yeah.
You know what I realized? I was at one of these events. I've done about 7 or 8 of them over the last 2 years, mostly these Starship Trooper reunion things. And I was doing a Q&A, and I was sitting there, and I was looking at all these people all dressed up in costumes and doing cosplay and all that stuff. And I realized they found their tribe. Yeah. You know what I mean? They found none of these people are ever going to walk into a supermarket with a gun and shoot somebody. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's the guy that doesn't get included, or the person that doesn't get included or feels like on the outside. The person that doesn't get to play with all the other kids and stuff like that. It was so cool to see, like, why judge people if they're having fun? Right. You know what I mean? Somebody said to me, oh, you're going to go to one of those geek events. And I went, fuck you. You lonely poor mother who sits screaming at the television watching a baseball game. He's a member. He's a member of my family, so I'm allowed to say that to him. But no, it was really kind of cool. It was cool to see. How can you get down, or how can you possibly judge people who enjoy what they're doing, and they get a camaraderie and a tribal feel out of it, and they feel safe, and they get to, I guess it's not unlike religion, where they get a sense of safety and faith and promise and togetherness and everything like that. What the hell's wrong with that?
No. And to your point too, having that place, that camaraderie and everything in these fandoms. I know you said in an interview before that you've worked on so many projects and you always make great friends, both on this side of the camera and on the other side of the camera. And you've maintained a lot of friendships with them. That's just kind of who you are. Yeah. It's,
my dad called me a whore once. He didn't know, he lived in Northern Ontario. After my mom died when I was in my early 20s, he had a heart attack. We got a bunch of money together, and he moved up to the middle of Ontario on an acre and a half, 2 acres of land, and we built a house and stuff like this. And he had, like, in Canada, he had like CBC 1 and 2, Northern BBC, or CBC. So he didn't get a lot of TV programming and stuff, other than the nightly news and the hockey game. And so I took him up. I think I was doing V at the time, and I took him up. I bought him a TV and a VHS player and stuff like that, and we took it up, my brother and I dropped off a bunch of my films because he once said I ran away and joined the circus, and he was absolutely true. And I came back a couple of months later. I just happened to be going through that part of town. I wanted to see him. So I said, so did to watch the movies. I was in there with my brother, and he went, "Yeah." He says, "You're a bit of a whore, aren't you?" And I didn't know what to do. I went, "I beg your pardon?" And he said, "Doesn't mean you're bad." And my dad's a very literate man. He reads, He's constantly reading. And then I said, and my brother covered his mouth and went, "Mikey's trying to give you a compliment." and I went, "Oh, thanks, Dad." And he went, "Yeah." And he went back to his corner and started reading his book again. But it took me a while. A few hours or maybe even a day, I started laughing. I remember I pulled my car over and started laughing because he's absolutely right. He's absolutely right. I mean, I came from a working class family, and I always had this fear that even though I was well trained, I studied acting for 24 hours a week for 5 years before I ever got I took acting lessons to help my writing as a young writer. Mm-hmm. I figured if I'm going to write music, I should actually play an instrument, and writing screenplays and stuff like that is very similar. And I ended up an actor. I had a brilliant teacher, Janine Manatis, out of New York, out of Lee Strasberg's group. And but it was interesting. I thought about it, and my dad was absolutely right. I was always afraid they were going to find out who I was and send me home. There's that working class fear as a child, that low self-esteem, I think, and things like that. Contrary to winning awards, contrary to having, is it okay if I talk about this stuff?
Yeah.
I was on a film called Total Recall, and we were on it for about 6 months. Vic Armstrong, this wonderful second unit director, stunt coordinator, this Brit and all his guys, and we were doing the famous elevator scene where my arms get chopped off. And it was on a second unit in another studio, another barn at the Churubusco Studios in New York, in Mexico City. And we'd been shooting that for about a day and a half, that whole work up to it. And the gig was my hands are behind my back, and there's fake arms and all this stuff. And they had squibs in both shoulders of the fake arms so it could blow off. And I'd go up behind a wall and the arms come off. See you at the party, and he throws the arms. And growing up to support myself when I was in school and stuff, from the time I was about 16, 17, I had a lot of part-time jobs. One of them was roofing. Mm-hmm. In the summertime and the fall, I would do hot tar and shingles and slate and stuff like that because it left me alone and I was away from everybody, and it was great. And I liked it. My brother-in-law, his father had a company, and we ran 3 trucks. But falling off a couple of roofs and a couple of stunts early in my career, I busted up my body a bit. Mm. I've got like false knees. But at the time of Total Recall, I'd had 16 surgeries on my left leg just to get it to work. Ooh. And before I got the false knee. And so going up the ladder, it's 2-story rig to get into this rig for the elevator for the arms to chop off. I stumbled and we went through the first take and stuff. And I came down and Vic said, "What was that? What happened? What's that look on your face?" And on the ladder there and everything. And because I was getting in, he noticed. And I turned to him in complete honesty and my working class background and said, "Vic, I can't roof anymore." And he went, "I beg your pardon." I said, I can't do ladder work anymore. And he said, "What are you doing for dinner tonight?" And I said, because we were all at the Nico Hotel in Mexico City. I said, "I got no plans." He said, "Well, why don't we meet for dinner tonight after work, about 8:30 or so?" I said, "Okay." So at dinner that night, he comes in and he threw down my resume and photograph in front of me. And he said, "I ordered food." And I were looking at it. I said, "Yeah, that's pretty cool." And he said, I said, "What's this all about?" He said, "That man is not a roofer." He's starring with the #1 box office star in the world. And I got it. I went, "Oh my God." You know what I mean? It was kind of like this, where you pull focus and dolly in at the same time. It was one of those moments where I went, "Oh, they're not going to send me home." And I think that's where it started. I think that's where I started having a certain level of confidence or acceptance. And my work changed at that point because I think I became more responsible for what I was doing because there was less of a hiding process going on, if that makes any sense.
It's crazy to think about, though, because you were already well established. You're probably almost 20 years into your career, and that was the moment.
I had already done about 70 films at that time. I know, but that doesn't matter. Most of it had that childlike fear under it that someday they're going to find out. Wow. And send me home. So, after winning awards, money in the bank, houses, all this stuff, having written 3 films. I was already, there was still that childhood playground fear, you know?
Like imposter syndrome almost.
A little bit, but I don't know if I call maybe, I don't know. I think most people that come from socially challenged backgrounds and financially challenged backgrounds, and I could just talk from my experience of talking to other people, we have a hard time figuring out what it's all about, because I know money won't fix me, and I know property and things won't fix me. I've got shit I always wanted and forgot I had, and does that make sense what I'm saying?
It does. Yeah, that just kind of boggles my mind because I always think of you, you've got such a badass persona in every part, whether you're playing an anti-hero or villain, and to know that underneath that for the first almost 20 years, you had this layer of fear. I never would have guessed it, Michael.
Yeah, that I love gardening and I play golf. Nobody really thinks that. I've told this many, many times. I was doing a film really early in my career with Donald Pleasant. I was playing he was playing a torture and him and another couple of Brit actors. I'm from Canada, and this was being shot in and around Toronto. And he said to me, Michael, you're very good. Do you know who Donald Pleasant is?
Oh my gosh, yes, Blofeld. He was
a lot of people
Dr. Loomis.
I mean, this is a brilliant British actor.
Yeah.
Stage, did everything, but everyone remembers him from bloody
Halloween and
and some of the slasher films. But he said to me, Michael, you're very, very good. And I wanted to give you some advice. Do you mind? And I said, no, not at all. And he says, you're very good. He says, but you have to, he was playing the torture and I'm playing his assistant, right? And he says, you have to be careful. If you kill a dog with a shovel and they make money off that, that's all they ever want you to do is to kill dogs with shovels. He says, now the dog might be Dame Edith Evans and the shovel might be a Buick, but that's all they ever see. So be careful with your choices, going forward. And I think I didn't realize until later on that because I had played I was very well trained as an actor, and some people just assumed that I got typed very quickly, especially Canadian cinema and stuff, where there's 3 casting directors. If you say no to one of them, you lose a third of your work. Ooh. So from playing a lead, like I did in Scanners, playing one day on a TV show, a week later. You say no to that TV show, they won't see you for the other films. So, right. Which is great training, by the way. It was phenomenal training, and it sort of pushed any ego aside. It's like, but and he was absolutely right. But I was so terrified of not working that I didn't know how to say no to things. Which takes me to my father again, saying you're a bit of a whore, and I think that's true. I think I had a rule that I've changed it over the last 10 or 15 years, but my rule was choose the best of what's offered, embrace it, do the best you can with it, and then move on.
Yeah.
I never thought of myself as being a star or any of that bullshit or having any of those aspirations. I really did actually think, there's an interview somewhere on the CBC that somebody saw on the internet and sent it to me from early in my career when I was in Canada, where it said, I'd be quite happy doing roofing in the summer and theater in the winter. And I think that was absolutely true at that time. But now I have daughters and financial responsibilities and car payments.
Right. Yeah. No, it's amazing. Obviously, that early in your career, though, priorities change. I did put out that we're going to have you on the show. We got some questions, quite a few questions, actually. We have Chance Bartels from Georgia, Sam Maroney from Ohio, and Alan Rupp from here in Missouri. All wanted me to ask you about Alan Rupp, R-U-P-P.
Oh, okay.
No, not the actor Alan Ruck. No, but they all asked about V, and they said they had Sam Roney says you were the best thing about V. Alan Rupp says V is where I learned to appreciate his badassery. And Chance just wanted to hear you talk a little bit about your time on V. Was that a fun time for you?
I came down. I basically left. I wanted to stay in Canada. I'm very adamantly a Canadian. I wanted to stay in Canada. But the problem was that in Canada, American actors were coming up and getting paid tons of money. And Canadian actors, no matter where you were in the position, were basically getting paid scale plus 10. I mean, when I did Scanners, I made less than Jennifer O'Neill's per diem.
Wow.
For the whole film. And that's not bad. I was grateful to get it at that time. But I remember I'd done scanners and visiting hours, and I went into a meeting with producers, and they offered me some ridiculously low amount of money. I said, how can you do that after these Canadian producers? And he said, well, if you were any good, you'd be in the States.
Huh.
And I went, wow, that's a weird kind of position.
Yeah.
I literally went home, packed my bags, and left 2 days later. And I went to Los Angeles, and the very first job that was offered me was V. And the casting director said, we've been fans of yours, but we never knew how to get in touch with you. And, oh, okay. And I read the script, and the author of the miniseries, the writer, was also the fellow who had written Visiting Hours. And they sent me the script, and I looked at it, and I said, I can't play this character, this Ham Tyler. And they said, why? I said, he's in a wheelchair. And they said, so? I said, my fucking name is Ironside, and you're going to put me in a bad wheelchair. I can't. And the writer said to me, he said, Michael, he said, what if we change that? I mean, he said, what if we work out? And they said, oh, well, we'd really like you in this show for the second part of the miniseries and stuff. Why don't you go to Palm Springs and look through the script and see if you can figure it out? Maybe come back next week this time. I looked at the writer and the writer said, yeah, of course. And took me outside. He said, Michael, come on. And so I got in the rental car, and I said, well, come on, we'll go. And he says, okay. I picked him up, and we're on our way to Palm Springs. By the time we got to the edge of the city, I figured it out, the character I wanted to play. I said, how about if we create a character that can't give affection, can't accept affection? He's been damaged that way because he lost his wife and his children and stuff like that. And so doing that, I wanted to kind of pay tribute to. At the time, I was about two or 3 years sober at the time, and I knew a lot of Vietnam vets and people from different military confrontations that had to emotionally restructure their lives. And I wanted to pay tribute in a way to the idea of people who are afraid to love again, are afraid to put value in relationships. And that's the basis of Ham Tyler. Somebody doesn't know how to give affection or accept affection is shut down because he doesn't want to feel. And we sort of solved that by the time we got. So I said to Brian, I said to the writer, I said, well, let's go back. He said, he said, they paid for a week in Palm Springs. We're going to figure this out in 6 days, But that's how I ended up on V.
Being cast as Darkseid, was that an offer that was made to you? Do you remember, was there an audition process, or is...
Well, the woman that was producing and directing all those, she just retired.
Andrea Romano, yeah, she's fantastic.
I didn't want to meet, but okay, Andrea. I met her, and she was fabulous. Absolutely fabulous. You know what I mean? She was one of those people you wanted to be around. She had so much energy. And look at, I think children are the best actors. When they're Superman, they're Superman. When they're Godzilla, they're Godzilla. They give themselves over. And I kind of act that way. The childlike essence inside me, I try and give myself over, tempered with all this training. And with Andrea, she said, do you want to take a look at this character, Darkseid? And I said, what, is it because my name's Ironside? And she said, no. The first time I met her, because I think you have a wonderful voice. We want this character to have a certain amount of gravitas, Michael.
I will, you just mentioned Darkseid. So one of the questions we got, this one from Twitter, from our friends at DCAU Watchtower. Michael, huge fan of your work as Darkseid. I missed your appearance at the Regatta Parade in Astoria, Oregon a few years ago. Any plans to come back to Oregon or Washington for any upcoming cons or events?
I have no idea.
Okay.
I have no idea. I know we're doing Metropolis, and then I'm doing one in Cannes, Germany. I try and fit that. If I'm acting, that's what I do. But I'm not doing anything. The Metropolis I'm going because a good friend asked me to do it, and I said, sure. They evidently had somebody drop out of Metropolis, and they said, would you do it, fill in for them? And I said, sure, I'll go do that, because I can do it. I can do it on my way to Nashville.
Yeah.
And the one in Cannes, Germany, I've got a film I'm be doing in London. And I'll go to Cannes, Germany, and meet a whole bunch of German people and do that one,
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't have any plans for ahead of time for these things. Anyway, What else?
No, that's. I mean, I think we can wrap it because I wanted to make sure that everyone comes out to Superman Celebration, Metropolis, Illinois, the 13th through the 15th. If you want to meet Michael Ironside, he's only there Friday the 13th, so get there early. He's doing autographs and selfies. I know you're not superstitious, I hope.
Look, there are things in this universe that happen with a certain amount of regularity that there's no explanation for. Am I superstitious? No. Do I believe in paranormal things? Absolutely. You know, but am I superstitious? Am I superstitious? Hey, you got to respect stuff that comes from hundreds and centuries of repetitive kind of belief. So I'll be very careful on Friday the 13th.
All right. Perfect. I can't wait to meet you for the first time. I've not had a chance to meet you. I've got my Justice League.
Will you be at Metropolis?
I'll be there just for you. I'm literally driving in Friday morning, and I've got a gig that I'm working Friday night, so I've got to drive there and drive back. But I've got this Justice League thing that I've got to have you sign the Darkseid portion for me.
All right. All right, darling.
Thank you so much.
James, it was a pleasure. Thanks for your patience.
Oh, my gosh. Thank you. This has been fantastic. What a great guy. And like I said, this is a fraction of the interview. We talked for an hour and 45 minutes, and I had to condense that down into what you just heard. So I had to leave out his fantastic Sharon Stone story from the set of Total Recall. He talked a lot more about V, the movie that he co-wrote and starred in Chain Dance for something like that, his experience on that, his grandfather, his experience with his dad. So many great stories. He's just a very honest, very raw person. And this is probably one of my favorite interviews that I've ever done. I was so excited to talk to him, and Michael Ironside did not disappoint. So tune in next week for more of my conversation with Michael Ironside. We'll get into a little bit more of it then. We have tickets to give away to Ballerina, the new movie starring Ana de Armas, is in theaters now. And I know I got to see it, and I believe, Joey V, I think you got to see it too.
I did. Oh, my goodness. What do you want to ask me? What do you want to know?
What did you like about it? How would you rate it? You do scales of 1 to 10 for Letterboxd. What did you give it on Letterboxd?
Well, let me tell you first off, my stepmom gave me this coupon from T-Mobile Tuesdays. T-Mobile gives out coupons all the time. It said you could see any John Wick movie for $5. I bought the most expensive ticket I could find. I didn't know what I was getting into because when I walked in, all the seats were shaking people. And I realized I had bought a 4D ticket.
Oh.
And so I try to jump into the seat and I almost fall on the ground. And it was like it was made for 4D. Every 10 minutes, there's a big action scene with gunfires. And in these 4D movies, they have strobe lights in the corners. They have air that shoots out of the armrest in the back of your seat. And it gets you in the eye. And it's like you're actually in there. Like, there's this one incredible scene where a car starts up. So the chair started up. It drives over cobblestone streets, and then it gets T-boned, and then she's hanging out the side of the car shooting the gun. That is like what this whole experience of 4D theaters is made for. So if you can, I'd recommend seeing it like that. But
I may have to.
I don't know anything about the John Wick movies past 2. I haven't been paying attention.
Okay.
So I haven't seen 3 or 4. I'm going to go back. But even not knowing anything about the past movies, it's easy to follow. You know, you killed my father, prepare to die. That's about it. And the flamethrower scene, one of the greatest action scenes I've ever
really
seen
cool.
in a movie.
Oh my gosh, I was seeing that too on the big screen. So again, this is a movie you're going to want to see on the big screen. We've got a pair of tickets to give away, plus a John Wick prize pack for the first person who can correctly text the answer. Ana de Armas, who is playing the part of the ballerina in this, her character, she did a very similar action sequence in a James Bond movie. Name the James Bond movie that Ana de Armas starred in, and we'll get your information, we'll send you a pair of tickets to go see Ballerina, if you're in the greater St. Louis area, I should say. So text us at 84126. The answer to that question: what James Bond movie did Ana de Armas, star of the Ballerina, star in before starring in Ballerina? If that makes sense. 84126, or you can include it in the chats that we're watching right now. We just have a few seconds left here before I have to start playing the music, so I'll watch the chats. If you have the answer, go ahead and let us know. We still have those Tenacious Eats tickets available for the Friday the 13th. If you know what board game they were playing in the bunkhouse in Friday the 13th that they were playing a strip version of, and you send us that text, we will also get those tickets for you as well. That's going to do it. My very, very deep thanks to Chef Liz, Ben, and Chef Steve for coming in. Thank you to Michael Ironside. Make sure you go to Metropolis Superman Celebration next weekend, and you can visit Michael Ironside in person in Metropolis, Illinois, along with Dean Cain on Saturday. Lots of stuff going on there. So check that out. It's Metropolis, Illinois, Superman Celebration. And make sure you check out Tenacious Eats. BrownPaperTickets.com for the tickets for those events. Until next week, my friends.
It's not in the way you love Scotty Young arts. It's not in the way you play Mario Karts. It's not in the way you look when you make Game of Thrones references. That's our show. This is Geek to Me Radio. That's our show. This is Geek to Me Radio.
Thank you, Camp Crystal Lake. Good night.